Welcome to SSO Where. This is a webcast radio show produced by the Schizophrenia Society of Ontario. I'm Stephen Hobe, your host and facilitator for today's roundtable discussions. On the program, we'll be talking about issues of stigma and discrimination, as well as the importance of public awareness and fundraising for the cause of schizophrenia. In our second segment, we'll be addressing the topic of access to treatment in Ontario, which is currently the focus of the Schizophrenia Society of Ontario's advocacy campaign. But first, I am very pleased to welcome to the studio Mary Alberti, Executive Director for the Schizophrenia Society of Ontario, as well as Jesse Bigelow, a longtime volunteer for SSO. So Mary, tell us a little about the Schizophrenia Society of Ontario.
I would love to tell you about us, Stephen. We are a province-wide organization, and we exist to help people understand schizophrenia and raise awareness of schizophrenia across Ontario, as well as the organization delivers many needed programs and services to families and individuals living with schizophrenia. We also are able to fund some great research initiatives that help us understand this illness a lot better. We are the only organization in Ontario solely dedicated to schizophrenia, and we're very, very proud of that. Although we work with a lot of other organizations and a lot of communities, we work with hospitals, we work with government organizations, we are the only ones throughout Ontario who really provide a lot of information about schizophrenia through our website, through pamphlets, through brochures, through a lot of the educational activities that we do. And we also have a very interesting history. We started about 35 years ago, so we're really not that old. But we started as a family movement where families who needed help and support were able to come together and give birth to this organization under the leadership of a Mr. Bill Jeffries and his wife Dorothy. So that really still remains as part of our main activity in working with families and continuing to bring families together to understand what some of their needs are and to provide a lot of needed support. There aren't many organizations in Ontario who can respond to families in the way that we do as well, and that's something we're very, very proud of. So families and individuals affected by schizophrenia form a core of our organization because they are truly the folks who guide what we do, who help us develop our programs and services, and who give us great stories and information that gives us great strength to do a lot of what we do.
That's wonderful, Mary. Thank you very much. And Jesse, I understand that you got involved with the Schizophrenia Society over 6 years ago. Now, what got you involved, and what are the sorts of things that you've done as a volunteer for the Society?
Well, first of all, I was diagnosed with schizophrenia in 1999, and this was a very traumatic experience for me. I started hearing voices. I started believing I was Jesus Christ. A lot of really bizarre behaviors. And so as the time went on, I deteriorated so badly I needed to be hospitalized and put on medication. But in my recovery, I found that it was really therapeutic for me to talk about it. And the first time I ever talked about it was part of a project called the Youth Awareness Project, which was put on by the SSO. And it was a group of us who got together regularly. And, we just shared experiences. And from there, I got the bug. I guess I got the speaking bug. And I wanted to help people. I wanted to show the general public that people with schizophrenia aren't necessarily homeless people or criminals, that people with schizophrenia are some people you would never know. And these are the folks that, I speak up for, because oftentimes they can't speak up for themselves or they won't speak up for themselves. So the SSO has really, really helped me to be sort of a vehicle to spreading the good word, you might say. I've spoken to nursing students, med students, high school students, all through the SSO. It's really been a help for me. Also, I do volunteer work, stuffing envelopes there. That was good because that was at a time where I wasn't doing much. I didn't have a job because nobody would hire me. And the SSO really kind of took me in and provided the support I needed and, allowed me to do useful things and feel useful.
That's great, Jesse. And I think that sort of leads into the next topic that we want to talk about, and that is a very serious topic of stigma and discrimination, which people who suffer from schizophrenia often have to deal with on a daily basis. So, Mary, in terms of this huge topic of discrimination, how does SSO go about combating it?
Well, the way we go about combating discrimination is really through a lot of our public awareness programs and education. The more we talk to people across Ontario, the more we realize that many people are not familiar with schizophrenia as an illness. They may have heard about it, but they really don't know what it's about. So part of what we do is give people the facts so they can understand that this is a brain disease, it is a treatable illness, and that there is hope for people, and there's varying ways that hope plays itself out. So as Jesse was talking about, we often have these images of people with mental illness, and they're not positive images. So a lot of what the Schizophrenia Society of Ontario does is to give people the facts and try and change the way people think about schizophrenia. We know we've got a really long road ahead of us because the more we get out there and speak to people, the more we have been able to identify that it is a very misunderstood illness. I think as well, we come from a very fundamental position that everyone needs to be treated with respect and dignity. And in order to do that, we really do need to give the people information about this illness. So, Jesse, what do you think about discrimination? Have you ever felt discrimination in living with schizophrenia?
Well, I mean, when I was actively psychotic, I was doing a lot of weird things, and I was hard to, deal with. All my friends, and I had a lot of friends at the time, I was pretty popular in high school, all my friends disappeared. And I think that's a classic example of what happens to somebody who's developing schizophrenia. They become withdrawn and nobody sticks around anymore. That's really, I think, a classic example of discrimination or even fear of not understanding what the person's going through. As far as discrimination, usually when I tell people I have schizophrenia, they're really pretty accepting of it because they see I'm well, right? So I don't think it affects me as much because I am so well. I'm sure people in a lot more rough shape deal with more discrimination.
Now, of course, Jesse, you were part of a pretty major documentary project that was produced last year by the Schizophrenia Society called Fearless: Opening Minds About Schizophrenia. And this has been a very, very successful documentary. And ostensibly, it documents your life from the time that you were very small and then through to your first psychotic break and then to the present. So why did you decide to get involved with this and what has it done for you?
Mary approached me and invited me to be part of this wonderful documentary. At first, and this is an example of stigma, at first I said, what if I do this and the wrong people see it and change their opinion about me? That was probably my first reaction. But shortly thereafter, and it didn't take long, I said, you know what? I've decided to be out there. I've decided to be a face. So if I'm going to do that, I'm going to do it right down to the end. And if this documentary can give hope to families and people going through the illness themselves, then I think that's what really drove me to take part in it. And it was really, really well done. And I got closer to the SSO people and Dagny Thompson, the director.